I am part of the load by Mewlana Jalaluddin Rumi, or often just called Rumi. I am part of the load, not rightly balanced. I drop off in the grass like the old cave sleepers to browse wherever I fall. For hundreds of thousands of years, I have been dust grains, floating and flying in the will of the air, often forgetting ever being in that state. But in sleep, I migrate back. I spring loose from the four-branched time and space cross, this waiting room. I walk into a huge pasture. I nurse the milk of millennia. Everyone does this in different ways, knowing that conscious decisions and personal memory are much too small a place to live. Every human being streams at night into the loving nowhere, or during the day in some absorbing work. Okay, so Rumi was a 13th century Sufi poet. And I think this poem's really lovely. So what is the main theme of this? I think for me, the main theme of this is we are all part of each other. We all come from, or we all are the sum total of everything that has come before. Yeah, we are the addition of all our ancestors, one by one. And that when we go to sleep, we go back to this primal state that we have been in since the beginning of time. So, let's see. I am part of the load, not rightly balanced. I drop off in the grass, like the old cave sleepers, to browse wherever I fall. So I think this phrase, I'm part of the load, I think the load is the load that the gods or God has to bear. Yeah, that I'm one more of the human race who God has to look after. Not rightly balanced. So I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I'm not exactly, I don't exactly do the right thing always. Yeah, but I try. So I drop off in the grass. So here we have this metaphor of a carriage or a cart carrying a load. Yeah. And I think the gods are pulling this cart, or God is pulling this cart. And if a load is not properly balanced, everything in the right place, then part of it falls off into the grass by the side of the road. So I drop off in the grass. I go off on my own path, like the old cave sleepers. So, like our ancestors, to me, the cave sleepers evokes the idea of the Neanderthals, of our primitive ancestors, to browse wherever I fall. So, tribal people, they live for a time in an area, and then they move on to another one, and they live in the area where they find themselves. But life is like this as well. Suddenly you find yourself in a new situation, in something different, and then you browse, you interact with your current environment. For hundreds of thousands of years, I have been dust grains, floating and flying in the will of the air, and often forgetting ever being in that state. So, for hundreds of thousands of years, we've been subject to chance, to the elements, or subject to the will of God. Yeah, and this and we've done things at random for thousands of years, but each time we get better at it. Yeah. And I now think that I'm a very sophisticated person, but I'm still subject to the things that happen around me. Yeah. Um, and I often forget that I was in this state. So I often forget that um, the environment and the things around us are what actually push us, because as humans we feel we are in control of everything. We're in control of our environment, we're in control of the things that happen to us, but are we really? But in sleep I migrate back. But when I go to sleep I go back to this state of um, uh, random things happening. Yeah, my dreams are go where um, God wills, or where nature wills it to go. I spring loose from the full branch time and space cross this waiting room. So in sleep I go back to this primitive state, and I become free from the here and the now. Yeah, this time where we live, and this is the waiting room. Yeah, this waiting room between being dust and going to the afterlife, or going back to dust again, as they say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So of dust we are born, and dust we go back to. Yeah. um, and I think this is talking about a spiritual world where all of the ancestors live. Yeah. And by sleeping I can free myself from being in the here and now, and trying to do my best at each moment. I walk into a huge pasture. I nurse the milk of millennia. So when I'm asleep, I go into the Elysian fields. I go into this wonderful place, uh, and I nurse the milk of millennia. I think here I uh, take the very best from the experience of all of our ancestors, all of the people who've come before us, all of their knowledge. And I live, or in sleep, I dream with this. And now we're talking about these two worlds again. Everyone does this in different ways, knowing that conscious decisions and personal memory are much too small a place to live. So we live our lives, and we should realize that our own personal lives are just tiny and insignificant compared to everything around us, and everything that's come before, and everything that will happen in the future as well. Every human being streams at night into the loving nowhere. So the loving nowhere, the land of dreams, the land of Nod. So every night the human beings go back to this primal state, or during the day in some absorbing work. So, or during the day, they live their lives doing this work or that work, or doing different things. So we need to remember that our present is the sum total of our past. So enough. This was a great poem. I really love it. I think it's really beautiful. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. I'm Part of the Load by Mewlana Jalaluddin Rumi.